It's another edition of the On the Mic podcast. And while it's UFC 259 fight week this weekend, it's always like selfishly a special birthday when I get to talk to a fighter who fights either on my birthday, around my birthday, in between my birthday. And my next guest will be fighting March 13th in Las Vegas against JJ Aldrich. So Cortney Casey, thank you for the early birthday present. My birthday being St. Patrick's Day. You're fighting March 13th. Welcome to the show again. It's nice to talk to you. It's been about a year. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, man?
I'm good. It's been a fun time. Been away for a while for me, but for you, I'm very excited for you because on paper, on the surface, people could come in and look at this fight and say, "Where is Cortney Casey?" But for me, you fought the best of the best in the division, and you're really, as you know, 1-2 wins away from being exactly where you need to be and even higher. So coming into this bout against JJ, how are you feeling about this fight?
I feel really good. It's another great fight. It's another good name, another good fighter out of a great camp. So I'm just really looking forward to getting back into it after, the mishap that happened at my last fight, not being able to fight and everything like that. So just being able to go in and actually put everything that I've been working on, to use instead of just training and not getting able to fight. So I'm really excited about that.
What was this past year like for you personally? Not just like as a fighter, but everything, everyone's life has changed because of the pandemic, but you've got a family now, you've got so much going on. And it seemed like, and I'm not saying this towards you, but it seemed like early on during COVID, when the UFC came back, it seemed like there were a lot of fighters who wanted to fight as often as possible, as much as possible, to secure that paycheck. It didn't matter win or loss. They just needed to get in the cage and get that cage time. So how would you kind of sum up what this year has been like, this past year has been like for you?
For me, it was just another year. It really was, other than the training was a little bit different. But as far as getting the fights in and everything like that, like that's just something that I've always been able to do. I was averaging 2 or 3 fights a year, and then I had a little over a year layoff due to injuries, but then I just got right back into it. Just so happened that I got right back into it right after the pandemic hit. Drakkar had fought the last fight in the States with fans in March. And then, and then we just slowly waited for me to get a fight. And next thing you know, I got a fight, then I got another fight, and then I got another fight that didn't happen. And, then he got a fight, and now then that fight didn't happen. And then I got a fight, and now he has a fight. So it's just the life's been the same. It's just, we're wearing masks and we got to stay at home a lot more and spend more time with the family and things like that. But other than that, it's been the same for us.
Life as normal for Cortney Casey and Drakkar Klose. Yeah. I kind of love it, honestly, because I feel like there are a lot of fighters who are kind of, trying to figure out where they're at in their career, and they could use the pandemic as like a crutch. Like, well, I can't figure out if I'm top 15 or where I'm at because I'm not getting a fight, or I can't travel to the States. And, we can look at this weekend as a perfect example. Peter Yan, like he, defending his bantamweight title, he couldn't train in Russia. So, he had the opportunity to move to Florida. And you kind of said training was a little different, but I've got to assume you just mean in like terms of like how many people are in the gym. You haven't really changed much in form of your training, have you?
No, we just, no, not really. Since the pandemic hit, we had already changed gyms, and we already kind of went into our little, I would say like our Ronin training, as far as like, we just decided to do everything at the house, bring in our training partners, and go to certain gyms that were specific to us. We don't train out of like an MMA gym or anything like that. We just kind of surrounded ourselves by like good people and good training partners and people who are, wanting the same things that we were, instead of just being part of a big gym where you just kind of get lost in the mix. We decided that we were going to do our own thing and just really be specific to what we needed as far as fighters to get better in our sport, instead of just kind of being on the same page as a whole team and learning everything the same that they're doing. So we had already taken those steps.
Instead of asking like the cliche questions, like, how do you feel? How we should, like all of these things. I just got to ask, because, you're one of my favorite people to talk to, but I just got to ask, like, when you say something like that, I feel like, you know, not just me, I feel like listeners will be like, well, what does that mean? I thought if you're an MMA fighter, you train out of an MMA gym and you have specific training partners. But when you say like, no, we needed to find what works for us, what fits us and our game plans, how do you determine that? Is it the nutrition side? Is it the technical side? Like everything?
It's everything. It's everything. Surrounding yourself by people that, you know, that are going to better you, that are going to be positive around you, that are going to be supporting you, and not draining you. And that's kind of what we had. So we just wanted to kind of step aside and mentally clear ourselves from the MMA norm and all the MMA drama and all the stuff that goes on with it. I mean, it just gets overwhelming sometimes when, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an individual sport, but it is a team sport because you need partners. But at the same time, you don't need 30 partners that are all trying to do the same thing, because I'm not the same fighter as Drakkar, and Drakkar is not the same fighter as me, and I have different needs. Whether my gym has everything that it needs, it might not be everything I need. I might need a different style boxing coach. I might need a different style, you know, wrestling coach or jiu-jitsu coach. And being able to set up our own schedules and go and train jiu-jitsu at one gym and he can train jiu-jitsu at another gym, we're still getting jiu-jitsu in, but it's a different style. And if you're at a gym and you have one jiu-jitsu coach, it might not be the style that you need. Same with striking and wrestling and things like that. So being able to, you know, pick our schedule, pick where we're going to go, and then make a schedule that works for us and our family, because we have a son as well. You know, we're not on a, hey, we have team practice at 10, we have team practice at 3, and those are your options. Like anything else in between is on your own time. For us, it wasn't working. It wasn't working for us. It was too stressful. One was missing practice because, you know, the baby's sleeping and we don't want to mess up his schedule and things like that. So we just decided, screw it. We're going to make a schedule that works for us and our family and what we needed specifically. And so far it's been working.
I love it. See, that's the kind of stuff I love to talk about more than just like, how was camp? How's training been? How's this? How's that? It's just, I just feel like I try to pull out a different perspective for the viewers and listeners, because I think that's something that's needed, because all they see is two fighters getting into a cage and they think, oh, they're at a gym. This is where they train. And who cares about their personal life? I think you can attest to this. Your personal life has so much to do and really has such a major impact on how you are as a fighter, no matter what it is. Some people say, oh, you become, you know, I just talked to Amanda Nunes' coach for this week's podcast, Conan Silveira, and he said, listen, Amanda didn't need more motivation by having a daughter. She's more focused and more dangerous now, you know, and some people would want to pull that, you know, you're a mother. Some people would want to say, oh, a mother or new parents, they're going to be more focused now. It's like, well, I didn't lose my focus because I had a kid. Now yeah. I just want to beat everybody up more because I have another mouth to feed.
Exactly.
So I started off with kind of throwing, you know, my own personal happiness out about you fighting this week. And I got to blow smoke and make you feel so welcomed onto the show. But I got to say, you have two of my favorite things about you and your career. When I talk about, you know, some of my favorite moments or some of my favorite things about fighting, we talked about Drakkar multiple times already. You're dating someone who's also a UFC fighter. Your partner is going through the same exact career that you are going through. And I absolutely love that. But you also have one of my favorite in-cage moments, which is the double bird to Felice Herrig. And, you know, a lot of people, they see a personality outside the cage, and then they don't want to see a personality inside the cage. And one thing I think I failed to ask you the last time we spoke is, you can bring that emotion into the cage. I think everybody does, but I think some people are afraid to show it. For you, when you're fighting in there and everything's raw and the adrenaline is running through you, what is it like? Like, you're like, I don't give a shit. Double birds, Felice. Like, you're across from me. Either you're going to beat me or I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it was. It's just one of those moments. You know what I mean? Like, you're living in the moment and it happens. It's not like I was trying to be disrespectful or whatever people want to say or whatever it is. It's just like, one, you've never been in that position where someone's trying to hurt you and you're trying to hurt them. And then at the same time, like, they're not doing anything and they're wanting you to do something. It's like, bitch, if you want to do something, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's go. I'm standing right here. So it's just one of those things. I try my best every fight, like I said, just to live in the moment and take it in as best I can. And And you get what you get. Sometimes you get, you know, a brawler out of me. Sometimes you get a real technical fighter. And sometimes you get, you know, someone who's working off their back. It just depends. If you want to stand and bang with me, I'm going to stand and bang with you. If you want to take it to the ground, and then I'm going to try to beat you there. But at the end of the day, like, I'm just trying to win. And same with them. They're trying to win too. And hell, if you want to, we can go wherever. It doesn't matter. We can stand, we can push each other up against the cage. We can, you know, we can do jiu-jitsu. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to try to win.
One of my favorite things about hearing you say that is now I got to like be a super nerd and a geek and just be like, so when do you, is that in fight? Obviously there's in-fight adjustments all the time with any fighter, but you know where a fight's going to go, or you have an idea where a fight's going to go. But how do you, I guess, as you go through training camp and prepare for, let's say, a JJ Aldrich, do you have it in you to know that, hey, I know that if this is where the fight's going to, I'm planning on the fight to go to this area, whether it's the striking or it's going to go to the ground. You obviously train for all of that, but do you ever come in with the mindset of knowing like, this person's really good at jiu-jitsu, so I expect the fight to go there? Or do you just kind of let it happen in the moment?
For me, it seems like everyone wants to take me down. Like, that's, you know, they're like, we're going to wrestle, like, and that's what it is. So I normally plan to strike until they wrestle, you know what I mean? And fight off as best I can. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I'm in the fight and I'm like, okay, they took me down. They obviously want to fight me here. So I'm going to fight you here, kind of thing. And that's just kind of how it is. Has not worked well in my favor sometimes. But that's just kind of how it is. I'm like, damn, they don't want nothing to do with my striking. They're just going to take me down. Well, fuck, I'm going to try to beat them here then. You know, it's just one of those things. And it's a habit that I've continued to try to get out of. But at the same time, for me, I'm like, well, like I said, if you want to take me down, I'm going to try to beat you here. If you want to stand back up, let's stand back up. And that's kind of something that, you know, like Drakkar and my other coaches, like Tim Welch and stuff, they're like, hey, let's try to get you on top this time. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, like, why do I got to take him down if I'm beating him up striking? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to take him down and make the fight, quote, boring, and stuff like that. So for me, I'm going to stand and bang until someone tries to take me down.
Well, that's why you're a fan favorite, obviously. But I got to ask, like, when it comes to training, then when obviously most confident in striking, do you kind of deteriorate away from the striking, like the focus on your striking because you know it's there, and do you look to work on everything else, or is it all just equal together?
I try my best to work a lot on my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu, because obviously that's where most of my fights end up. And then I sprinkle in striking and everything together. But I do focus a lot on my wrestling and my cage control and things that that are just not my strongest. It's not that I'm not good at cage control. I just sometimes I think it's boring, but if I got to use it, I'll use it. If I have to use my wrestling, I'll use my wrestling. And things like that. There's fights where I've taken girls down, but it's just something that happens. It's not like I'm planning on taking the girl down. It's just something, again, I'm just living in the moment and fighting in the moment and just enjoying the fight in general. And if it means I'm taking them down, then I take them down. If it means that, you know, I'm jumping guard, then I'm jumping guard. If I feel like I got something, I got something. And that's just how I kind of fight. I'm not going in there with the game plan like, man, this is how I'm going to win the fight if I just shoot a takedown and lay on top of her. Like, that's just not me. Like, I'm in there to go on and put a show on for the fans. You know, at the end of the day, it is a sport, but it's also an entertainment sport. And that's what I want. I rather lose fights being exciting than just sit there and lay on someone and hammer fist them. You know what I mean? It's just not something I want to do.
And that's, again, why you're a fan favorite. I think, you know, next weekend, you know, there's going to be plenty of reasons to watch you. Getting away from the fight, though, like I said earlier, one of the things that I truly do admire about you is obviously, you know, the relationship with Drakkar and obviously a son together. For you, for me, it's something I love because not many people in the world can say they have the same career as their partner, but also like they're trying to achieve greatness side by side while staying in their own lane. You mentioned earlier, this is an individual sport, but it's also a team sport. And then you talked about how you guys have had to come together as a family to set up your career and your game plans and your scheduling. For you, what is that like for you? I feel like a lot of people may not be able to wrap their heads around, like, wait, there are two fighters and they're together and they have a family together. I don't understand how that could happen. So what is it like for you to have Drakkar side by side with you?
I feel like it makes it a little bit easier to have someone, one, who understands the time and the effort that goes into training, and especially not just, I mean, we don't have an off season. There's no off season. It's your year-round training, because you never know when you're going to get the phone call, and you always want to be ready, because again, you don't know if it's going to be a 6-week camp, a 3-week camp, a 13-week camp. You just don't know. So you have to stay ready all the time. So for someone to know, like, we're training all the time. If we go on vacation, we're probably going to end up training. You know what I mean? We're probably going to go somewhere and train, unless we absolutely know, like, we both got phone calls, or he got a phone call. Hey, you're fighting 13 weeks out. You know what I mean? All right, sweet. Now we can go and have a vacation knowing that you're booked and we have some time just to actually have a normal vacation. But sometimes it's like, man, we booked a vacation and then you got to fight. And now it's like, all right, well, now let's rearrange everything. And you have to have a partner that's willing to be like, dang, we were going to California to see family. Now we got to go to the gym 3 times a day. You know what I mean? And maybe, you know, Disneyland, if we can make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like, you have to go with it. Like, you literally have to be able to just make adjustments on the fly. And then also the understanding of the fight camp and the diets and the restrictions and the things like that. Like, all that plays a part. All that gets stressful. I got a nap. You got to watch the boy. I got to go to practice. You got to watch the boy. You know what I mean? He's not eating. He didn't nap. Like, I'm sorry you're stuck with the cranky 2-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, I did my best, you know, and that happens. And it's good to know that you have someone that's like, man, I got it today. You know what I mean? Or if he's in camp, you know, I got everything. Whatever you need, I can do it for you, and vice versa. And then, I mean, we happened to have overlapping camps for the first time. And it was something, again, that we had to make a schedule. I'm going to take him in the morning. You're going to take him in the afternoon. I'm going to put him to sleep, and I'm going to, you know, like, we had to make a schedule and we had to make it work. So it's good to have someone on the same page that knows how precious each little moment is, and how much time is valuable when you're in a camp. Because every moment counts, every little second counts, from recovery to the time you eat breakfast, the time you got to train, the travel time in between, and then also running errands and, you know, still running your family at the same time.
A note to IT techs out there: you're not dating MMA fighters anytime soon, male or female. You're not getting an MMA fighter. If you're going to an office 9 to 5, you're not getting an MMA fighter.
No, it's too hard. It's way too hard. Yeah, a lot of time goes into it. A lot of time.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, I have, not to throw my personal, but I've had people, since I've been involved in the sport the last 5 years, people be like, don't you think the best person for you to try to date is like someone who either likes the sport or is involved in the sport or at least trains in the sport? I'm like, why would you say that? And they're like, because it's really embarrassing when we're out with you on a Friday night and a girl asks for your number and you go, well, I can't meet up this weekend because I got to go out and watch the fights. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. That's just kind of my thing. Like, I have to do it. Like, eventually, if I want to take you out, if I start making money off of doing this job, how am I going to pay the bills? I got to focus on fights first. So I'm almost in the same boat with you. I'm just not getting punched in the face. So I'm with you. Not to be disrespectful, but I absolutely understand. You got to find someone who fits your schedule, your lifestyle, and everything in between. He's got a huge fight, Drakkar, that is Drakkar Klose fighting Jeremy Stephens, welcoming him back up to lightweight. When you have a fight, and now he's got a fight coming up, and it's such a big fight, how much, I don't want to say how much more fun, but like, how much more excited does that make the two of you working side by side together and knowing like you've got a great fight coming up, he's got a really great fight coming up, and on his side, he's got an opportunity. I mean, we obviously know what happened in the fight with Beneil Dariush, and that elevated Dariush, but you know, he was right there as well. If he goes in and makes a statement against Jeremy Stephens, I mean, the world's his for the taking. So how excited are you for him on that fight?
I'm extremely excited. When I got the the message from our manager, I was excited, and Dre was sitting across from me, and I looked at it and I kind of smiled. He's like, what are you smiling about? And I was like, oh, nothing. And I just wanted to read the rest of it. And he's like, tell me. And I was like, I think it's really good. He's like, what's really good? And I was like, this matchup. And he's like, who? And I was like, Jeremy Stephens. He's like, oh, sweet, let's take it. And I was like, no, for sure. It's just one of those, stylistically, both of them are just gamers. They're both gamers. They're both grindy. They like to feed off their opponent. You know what I mean? And so I think it's just going to be an exciting fight. And then on top of that the name that Jeremy has behind him, you know what I mean? The people that he's fought, the people that he's beat, things like that. And it's one of those fights that, you know, not that Dre needed or wanted, but is extremely happy to have the opportunity to take a fight like that. You know, when his fight didn't happen with, why can't I think of the other guy's name? Herbert, and then he got Luis Pena, and then all that didn't happen. He was like, man, maybe something better is going to come along. Maybe everything happens for a reason, and which was shocking to me. You know, I thought he was going to be all pissed because he was already out for so long, and then literally it's fight day and the fight gets canceled. But he took it pretty well, and I think like 4 or 5 days later, we got the call about Jeremy Stephens, and just everything happened for a reason. So we're super excited about that. And, you know, he's already back in camp. His weight was good. He's just kind of staying around, and now he gets to focus more on his speed and his agility and his strength training, and not really have to focus on a weight cut because he's just going to kind of stay a little bit lighter than normal. And yeah, it's going to be great.
As someone who like is such a personal fan of both of you, I've got to ask this, like, you love to go in and have a war. He obviously loves to go in and have a war. He's going in and fighting Jeremy Stephens, who loves to have wars. When you are like on the outside looking in, and obviously the crazy fight with Dariush, how do you not just absolutely, and obviously it's years of training and being around the sport, but as a significant other, like, do you ever have these conversations like, please stop getting in wars? Like, I can't handle this every single fight.
No, I'm the complete opposite. You know, with him, I'm just like, you got to go in and do you. Like, just do you. Like, you literally just got to go in there and fight, because that's all he ever says. He's like, it's a fight. Anything can happen. Like, don't stress about it. It's a fight. Anything can happen. And, you know, we have a roommate that fights as well. And it's the same thing. It's stressing about the fight. And he's like, dude, man, it's just a fight. Like, you just got to go out there and fight. So, like, if you try to game plan with Drakkar or try to go in there and tell him too much information, he gets overwhelmed. You literally just got to let him go in there and do whatever. So, like, when the Beneil Dariush fight happened, like, we were in the stands, and me and my roommate were yelling at him like, calm down, you know. And he's out there swinging, like, and all camp were like, you can knock him out. You just have to be patient when it happens. Don't get too excited. And all that went out the window. Like, as soon as he hit him and rocked him, it was like, like Pitbull mode. And then he got rocked, and we're just like, no, like, it was bad. And it was kind of funny because I feel like the people in the UFC are so used to going and getting the wives that don't fight. You know what I mean? I mean, I was up, it was in the T-Mobile Arena. So it's the hockey arena. So it has like the little, you know, they had me up and over that thing and by the cage before like Dre was even up off the thing. Like the president got shot or something like that. Security, they all had me, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Like, he just got knocked out. It's not like he's okay. Like, he'll be okay. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, just sit down. Do you need some water? I'm like, no, I'm fine. You know, like, so it was a little bit different. It was funny. And, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, you know, it's going to happen as a fighter. You know, your significant other either is going to win or going to lose. It's either going to be a good or it's going to be bad. They're either going to be okay after the fight or they might not be okay. You know, they might have to go to the hospital. It's just one of those things that you just know. So it's a little bit different in that aspect, but I always tell him to go out and do what he needs to do. Like, I'm never going to be like, please, can we just finish it early? Like, and it's just not going to happen. He's going to go in there. He's going to grind it out for 15 minutes and just make it ugly and dirty the entire time.
Well, that makes me even more excited for his upcoming fight against Jeremy Stephens. But no, I gotta say, like, it's funny because I'm usually pretty candid here. Fighters that I have multiple times on this show, like, I'm going to whether I'm out in public or with family watching fights, I'm going to personally root harder for you guys because you guys give me your time and respect. So I'm going to do the same thing when you're stepping in the cage. And a perfect example of that is I go over to my uncle's house recently for the Curtis Blades Derek Lewis fight. And, you know, Curtis and I are from the same city. And he's like, oh, all right, we'll go for this guy. And then Curtis gets knocked out. And my uncle's like, you're all right, dude? Your boy just got his ass knocked out. I'm like, yeah, man. And like 2 days later, Curtis is texting me like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, I wasn't sure if I could text you. And he's like, dude, it's like, it happens. So I just love that mindset of fighters.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I think that's what makes fighters a little, like, you can't dwell on it. You really can't. Like, you're going in there knowing either you're going to win or you're going to lose. You know what I mean? And it's normally not going to be, oh, I lost by 2 points. You know what I mean? Oh, I lost the game. You know, it's like, I'm either getting knocked out, I'm getting, you know, getting tapped out, or it's going to be, you know, a grimy fight. You know what I mean? So you're going to go in there and you're going to either win or lose, but they're never easy. Like, they're never easy. So you have to prepare yourself for that. It's just like, all right, back to the drawing boards. You know, you just got to take your losses and your bumps and bruises as they come, or else you're just not going to make it long in this sport.
Just a few more here for you, Cortney, and I really appreciate your time. We'll talk about the JJ fight here in a second, but one other thing for me on the personal note is, you know, having, you know, the 2-year-old son and being a fighter, and obviously we talked about Drakkar at length here, but for you as a mother, and you know, get a little cheesy here, March is, you know, Women's Month, and you know, I think more than most sports, I think the UFC has given female athletes a bit better and bigger platform than most sports, not just in America, but in the world. I think you women are allowed way more opportunities and way more freedom to be exactly who you are when you have the opportunity to be. And it's just something I love, you know, and, you know, I kind of referenced Amanda Nunes earlier. And, you know, I think earlier in her career, people would say, oh, this is the first openly gay female in, you know, MMA and in the UFC, and they wanted to run with that. And it's like, oh, well, she just had a kid, so let's emphasize that. Like, no, I think it doesn't matter, you know, where you are. I think a lot of, we saw it this year. People talking about Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. Well, they're dads now, so their fights are going to be different. They're going to look at things totally different. They're not going to be so emotional anymore because they've got a family now. So for you as a mother, like, what is it like? Obviously, you're a fighter's or a fan's delight. You go in to entertain. You're not afraid of any fight or opponent, but at the end of the day, you're also a mother, and you know you have someone you have to come home to and look after. What is that like for you?
The same day. I just nothing really has changed. You know what I mean? I've always kept things pretty simple as far as like my Instagram and things like that. Like, I never wanted to be that type of person that's going out and showing their butt and doing things like that. Like, I just respect myself a little bit differently than some people. I mean, but other than that, like, as far as fighting goes, it's my job. It puts food on the table, keeps the lights on, so I can't really complain. And I get to spend every day with them. You know what I mean? I get to spend all day with them. We can take them wherever we want to go. And again, we're able to build a schedule around his schedule as well. We don't have to put him in daycare. We don't have to really do it. He literally is he's just our kid that comes with us everywhere. Like, he's just part of the team. Like, that's all I can say. He's part of the team. But it's nice to be able to be recognized as far as like it not being so like, oh, you fight and you have a kid, like, isn't that weird? And it's like, no, it's not weird. Like, oh, you let your kid watch you fight, and it's like, yeah, he watches us train. He understands, like, as a 2-year-old, like, he understands daddy's gonna go pow pow, mommy's gonna go do pow pow. I'm gonna watch mommy on TV, I'm gonna watch daddy on TV, kind of thing. But it's just normal to him because we make it normal. But he also knows he can't just go out and start punching people, because at the end of the day, we are still martial artists. You know what I mean? So he's 2, he goes into the gym, takes his shoes off because he knows he can't go on the mat without his shoes. He'll sit there, like, if we're doing instructionals in jiu-jitsu, he'll sit down, he'll stop playing if the coach is talking. You know what I mean? Like, so he's already ahead of the game as far as all that goes, because he's around it. He understands, you know, the discipline that goes in it and things like that. But we're just different kind of parents, I guess. There's all kinds of parents. We just happen to be a fighting family, and that's what we do. And that's it. I mean, I really don't have much else to say.
Well, I'll say this.
I do think the UFC has put a platform out as far as like allowing each fighter to be who they want to be. Obviously, there are guidelines still because it's a company, but for the most part, they want you to be who you are. And whether you're gay, you're straight, you have kids, you don't have kids, you have adopted kids, you know, they just want you to be happy and be the fighter that they signed. And other than that, as long as you're not being disrespectful and things like that, they want you to be who you are.
Well, that's absolutely beautiful. You will face JJ Aldrich next weekend at UFC Vegas 21. Just a couple questions on that. How are you feeling going into this fight? It's a, you know, flyweight division. I feel like you and Drakkar both are in divisions where everything's there for the taking. I mean, obviously there's talent heavy in his lightweight division at the top of the rankings there, but you guys have an opportunity both to really make a statement in your respective careers. You especially in this flyweight division, almost hurting for, you know, top of the list contenders. What is this fight for you? Like, where are you headed into this fight?
You know, I'm just taking this fight one fight at a time. You know, this is a good fight, a good name, a good matchup. I think I just got to go out there and do what I know that I can do and put on the performance that I know I can put on and then move forward from that. I mean, JJ's like right outside the top 15, as am I. I was ranked at for a bit until my loss with Jillian. So it's not that I'm out of reach, like you said, from those top girls. I feel like I fare well with a lot of those girls in the division. It's just making sure that I'm getting the right fights. And other than that, you know, I just got to continue to better myself so I can go in there and get the job done when it counts.
I know you're very like focused on just one fight at a time and not looking too far ahead or not diving in too deep. But is there anything that you're kind of out to prove, like right now? You know, you've kind of had some ups and some downs, but like, you know, obviously this last one, it didn't go your way, but it's not like you were badly hurt or things went catastrophic for you. It was just, you know, wrong place, wrong time type thing for you. So I feel like you said, you're knocking on the door. Is that kind of like fueling you in this fight? Like, yeah, JJ's right there. I'm right there. A win gets me right where I feel, you know, I deserve to be.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of been the story of my career. You know, I had a long stride in the 115-pound division, and it was just one of those things where I was fighting the top girls every single fight. I was young as far as my record went coming into the UFC. I think I'm going on my 13th fight right now in the UFC. So like I pretty much done my entire career fighting the top girls in the 115-pound division. And then I went to the 125-pound division and fought a tough girl there, beat her. And then I got another tough girl in Jillian. And it was just for me, I thought it was going to be a different fight than it was. And it just ended up not going my way. But that was the first time out of all those fights that I've ever been finished. So, and again, it was just a mental error on my part and I shouldn't have done it. And it is what it is. And we move on from it. But I've never been beat up. I've never been in, you know, knocked out or really finished up until then. So I've hung with the top girls, and a lot of those fights could have gone my way as well. So it's just one of those things where I know I'm right there. It's just finally putting those little pieces together and filling in those moments that I need to fill in. And as soon as I can get that, you know, reeled in and dialed in, I feel like I'll have a good chance of making it into the top 10 and top 5 in the division, and hopefully one day fighting for the belt.
Is it fun for you knowing that you just have these little pieces to put together and you're doing it in a division that's so wide open and so brand new at 125?
Definitely. You know, with having the coaches and the training partners that I do have around me, and just everything starting to come together, and just being a lot happier with my training. At one point it became a job, and I didn't like that. It was a job. Like, I want to go into practices and have fun. And because I feel like that's when you grow the best. When you walk in, you're like, man, here we go again. Same thing, same day, because so-and-so has a fight. You know what I mean? It's like, I needed to start getting better at the things that I needed to do. And I really needed to focus on myself. And now being able to do that, I'm enjoying training again, having a lot more fun training, which I feel like I've grown a lot since then. So those little pieces are getting smaller and smaller, and sooner or later we'll be able to put the whole puzzle together.
What should we expect from you next weekend against JJ Aldrich?
Honestly, I feel like she's a great opponent. You know what I mean? I really do think she's a good opponent. She likes to go out there and bang too. She's pretty crafty on the ground as well. So I'm hoping for an exciting fight. I know JJ's not someone that's just trying to point you and win. She's going out there to bang as well and put on a good show. So I definitely think it's going to be one of those fan favorite fights on the card. And, you know, hopefully we could put on a good show. I'm not going to say I'm looking for fight of the night, although I feel like it could be a fight of the night performance, but I'm looking for a performance of the night for sure.
Well, if I could say anything to you, Cortney, and to the fans, anytime you step in, it's a very exciting fight. No matter how it goes, you always deliver. What are your plans for 2021? Obviously, you get this fight here in March. Do you know how many times you would like to fight this year? What does that schedule look like for you?
It really depends. Hopefully, if the fight goes well and everything goes well, I can get a fight soon. It's going to be one of those things where I'm going to be out like, hey, we're not looking to book you for a while, 6 months, something like that. It might be time for us to start thinking about having another baby, just because King's about to turn 3 and we don't want them to be too far apart. So, yeah, it just really depends on how the fight goes, how Drakkar's fight goes, and if they have anything lined up or in the future for us. If it's something that we can make work, then I'll take some time away and focus on his career, and then us having another child, and then get back into it. But you never know. If I get another fight offer right after that, then looks like I'll be fighting again.
I don't know which one I want more, because now I feel like I just got told some news here. Like, I want to be when I got to check social media and see if there's a baby being added to the family. I got to send a gift. Like, this is I don't know if I want Cortney to keep winning and continue on, or if I want a second baby added to the family. It's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's been something we've been talking about for a while. Obviously, if I would have had that last fight, I probably would have taken some time off, because that would have put enough money in the bank account for us to, at least for me to take some time off. But yeah, we'll just see how things go. Financially, we got to be ready for it. And then also, a big win's a big win. You got to ride it. So just gotta whatever it gives us. Just, like I said, we got to just roll with it.
Yeah, very excited for you. I got a last one here for you. Obviously, I'm talking to you a couple days before UFC 259. It really is like one of the biggest cards we've seen in quite some time. You got any predictions for how the 3 title fights will go?
I had said previously that I thought Alessandro was going to win, but I don't know. I think he might get upsetted. I think Nunez is going to sweep. I think that's just going to be bad. And then I got Peter Yan. Although I love Sterling, I really do love Sterling. I wouldn't be mad if that was an upset. I wouldn't be mad at all.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go Yan, Nunez, and then the upset with Stylebender.
I love it, because I met up with a friend recently, and I said, "Oh, great fights this weekend." He goes, "Yeah, I got Yan." And I go, "Man, you think Sterling's going to lose?" He goes, "No, I got Blachowicz." I go, "Yeah, we can't do this. Like, no to the UFC matchmakers. We cannot do this on the same card."
I better just say that Alessandro's going to lose. So we don't
right? Like, it's just like, either say Blachowicz or say Peter Yan. Like, I can't do Yan and Yan. One's a first name, one's a last name. But in all seriousness, Cortney, this has been great. So happy that we got to talk again. I know it's been quite some time. Hopefully we don't have to wait a whole year again to talk. You're truly one of my favorites to talk to, and wish you all the best next weekend. You would be a great kickoff to my whole birthday week, because I'll start the 13th. I'll go through the 17th. And then I'll just stretch it out until the weekend. That's just what I'll do. I've never had a birthday, like, since I've been an adult, if I can say that, that's in the middle of the week. Plus, I have the biggest drinking holiday of the year, St. Patrick's Day, as my birthday.
I have Cinco de Mayo, so
Okay, so yeah, we're right there. We're right there.
We're hand
I
in
gotta
hand.
ask you though, before I let you go, do you prep the day of your birthday or the night before? Like, do you have any like liquid IV or Tylenol or anything? Do you have anything waiting for you?
I'm not like a huge drinker.
Okay.
So I get drunk pretty quick. So I normally have to drink a lot of water, and obviously because we're fighters, we always have Pedialyte, so we're good to go. And we're still here. Hey!
Sorry about that.
You okay?
Yeah, that was embarrassing. But yeah, no. So obviously with being a fighter, you can't drink like I can drink. And I'm not saying I can outdrink you.
Drakkar can drink well. I just don't drink well.
What does Drakkar drink? I gotta know this.
Anything? He drinks anything. He can drink anything.
I've got a new best friend of fighters. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had people tell me like, you should start a podcast where you have a drink with fighters and just bullshit. And I'm like, that sounds fun. I'd also like to be taken seriously in this sport every once in a while. So only Rogan can have fighters come in and drink and smoke weed with them. I'm like, I can't. We're doing this over Zoom. I can't do this right now. But Cortney, seriously, thank you for opening up on the fight, your family, your relationship. Very, very excited for you. And in all seriousness, it'd be great to have someone like yourself that I respect a lot go in and kick off a personal week for me on a good note, and obviously do great things for your career and your family. And super excited to see you take on JJ Aldrich next week.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll do my best to kick it off great.